The galaxy had long been a tapestry of sprawling empires, each vying for dominance through fleets of starships and legions of technologically advanced soldiers. At the center of this cosmic stage was the Yethari Dominion, a coalition of species whose weapons could reduce cities to ash in moments. Their latest conquest brought them to the human frontier, a backwater colony called Callisto Ridge. The Dominion had heard of humans before, a race of stubborn, fragile beings who still relied on kinetic firearms instead of energy weapons. It was laughable. In the War Council aboard the Yethari command cruiser, General Valdis leaned back in his chair, his mandibles clicking in amusement. Humans, he sneered, gesturing at the holographic map. They cling to their primitive tools like relics of a forgotten age. A single battalion will suffice to bring them to their knees. Around him, the officers chuckled, exchanging mocking remarks about Earth's archaic rifles and inept soldiers. To them, humanity was an amusing distraction, not a legitimate threat. The general's confidence was mirrored by the troops stationed on the surface, who openly derided their enemies' lack of sophistication. On the ground, Sergeant Kethrin, a grizzled Yethari veteran, laughed as his platoon marched into the colony's outskirts. The human settlement was small, its defenses laughably basic, a few barricades and fortified buildings. The humans had reportedly evacuated most civilians, leaving behind a skeleton crew of militia. Kethrin smirked as he stepped over a discarded human rifle, picking it up to show his comrades. "Look at this," he said, holding up the weapon. Wood and metal, like something out of a museum. "They expect to fight us with this?" The soldiers roared with laughter, their armored boots kicking up dust as they spread out, confident no serious resistance awaited them. Unbeknownst to the invaders, a lone figure lay hidden on the ridgeline overlooking the valley. Lieutenant Marcus Kane, a human sniper, adjusted his scope, his breathing slow and steady. His rifle, a masterpiece of human engineering, was not the crude tool the aliens imagined. It was a precision instrument, capable of delivering a lethal round from over a mile away. Marcus had been on Callisto Ridge for weeks, embedded in the harsh terrain as part of humanity's last-ditch effort to stall the Dominion's advance. His mission was not to win the battle. That was impossible with the meager forces at hand, but to send a message. Humanity might lack the Dominion's technological prowess, but they made up for it with ingenuity, patience, and an unrelenting will to survive. Through his scope, Marcus watched the alien soldiers fan out, their arrogance plain in their unhurried movements. He could hear snippets of their chatter through his helmet's audio amplifier, their voices thick with derision. They truly believed this would be over before it began. He smiled grimly. "Underestimate us all you want," he muttered. "Just makes my job easier." The sniper's position was nearly invisible, camouflaged by the rugged landscape. His rifle, an heirloom crafted by his grandfather, was customized for precision and reliability. It didn't emit an energy signature like the aliens' weapons, making it impossible for their sensors to detect him. As the aliens advanced, Marcus selected his first target, a high-ranking officer striding near the center of the formation, barking orders. His finger hovered over the trigger, waiting for the perfect moment. Time seemed to stretch as he steadied his aim, the wind's direction and speed calculated in his mind. Below, General Valdis's voice crackled through the Yethari comms. "Advance without hesitation. These humans are little more than pests to be exterminated. Show no mercy." Marcus exhaled slowly, his crosshairs locking onto the officer's helmet. "Mercy," he murmured. "You won't even see it coming." The first shot echoed across the valley, a sharp crack that silenced the laughter of the alien troops. The officer's body crumpled to the ground, the energy field of his armor pierced cleanly. Panic rippled through the formation as soldiers scrambled for cover, their mocking smiles replaced by wide-eyed terror. From his perch, Marcus watched the chaos unfold, his rifle already trained on the next target. The aliens' hubris had blinded them, and now they would pay the price. As he chambered another round, he allowed himself a small, grim smile. The Dominion thought they were the hunters. They were wrong. This was just the beginning. The echo of the sniper's first shot rippled through the valley like a thunderclap. Alien soldiers, moments ago brimming with confidence, now scattered in disarray. General Valtus's voice barked over the comms, sharp and demanding order, but fear had already taken root among the ranks. From his perch on the ridgeline, Marcus Kane watched through his scope, his focus unwavering. The valley had transformed into his personal arena, a kill zone where every inch of terrain worked to his advantage. He moved with methodical precision, recalibrating his rifle for the next shot. A second crack split the air, and another alien fell, their energy shield useless against the raw kinetic power of Marcus's round. Panic spread like wildfire. Soldiers dove for cover, their energy weapons flaring wildly at shadows, but Marcus had already shifted positions, moving through a series of pre-planned hiding spots. His ghillie suit blended seamlessly with the rocky terrain, rendering him invisible to both sensors and the naked eye. "Sniper!" one alien screamed, his voice shrill with terror. "We're being picked off." The irony wasn't lost on Marcus. These troops, armed with the most advanced technology in the galaxy, were being undone by a weapon the Dominion had deemed obsolete. But it wasn't just a rifle. It was the skill, the patience, the understanding of the battlefield that gave Marcus the edge. The Yethari soldiers regrouped under the command of Sergeant Kethrin, who shouted orders with practiced authority. "Fan out! Thermal scans! Lock onto the shooter!" Marcus smirked, adjusting his scope as he lined up another shot. The aliens didn't realize their thermal sensors were useless against him. His position was masked by heat-dispersing fabric, and his weapon emitted no detectable energy signature. To the Dominion, he was a ghost. Kethrin's voice cut through the comms again, commanding an artillery strike on the ridgeline. Explosions ripped through the rocks, sending plumes of dust and debris into the air. The alien troops surged forward, emboldened by the display of firepower. Marcus remained calm, hunkered in a natural depression shielded from the blasts. He had chosen his positions carefully, ensuring that even the most aggressive assaults would fail to flush him out. As the dust began to settle, he spotted a group of soldiers moving through the rubble, their energy weapons scanning for movement. He took another breath, slow and steady. His next shot struck the lead soldier, the force of the impact sending the alien sprawling. The others hesitated, their formation faltering as doubt crept in. Every shot was a message, and Marcus delivered them with ruthless efficiency. The terrain amplified his advantage. The valley was a maze of narrow passes and jagged rocks, perfect for a sniper but treacherous for an advancing force. Marcus used the chaos to his advantage, forcing the aliens to bunch together in defensible clusters. Each time they regrouped, he struck again, splitting their lines and sowing confusion. As the casualties mounted, Kethrin's frustration boiled over. "He's one man. We have the numbers. Keep pushing." But numbers meant nothing against Marcus's strategy. He wasn't just a soldier. He was a predator, turning the aliens' arrogance into a liability. He targeted officers first, leaving the rank-and-file leaderless and disoriented. Each precise shot shattered their morale further. The aliens resorted to desperation tactics, firing indiscriminately into the ridgeline. Energy blasts scorched the rocks and vegetation, but Marcus stayed ahead of them, moving silently from one concealed position to the next. His rifle whispered death across the battlefield, each round carrying with it the weight of human defiance. By now, the once confident soldiers were frantic. Their mocking disdain for humanity's weapons had evaporated, replaced by the grim realization that they were hopelessly outmatched. Their advanced technology couldn't save them from the primal fear of being hunted. As dusk fell over the valley, the battlefield fell eerily silent. The Dominion troops, now reduced to a fraction of their original force, huddled together in a makeshift defensive position. They whispered among themselves, their voices trembling. From the shadows, Marcus observed, his rifle resting steady against his shoulder. He could feel the tide turning. The invaders, who had marched so arrogantly into the valley, now looked more like prey than predators. The sniper took one last look through his scope, marking their desperation. He could end this now, but he didn't. Not yet. There was more to be done, and so he waited, the hunter in the dark, knowing that the kill zone was his to command. With nightfall approaching, Marcus allowed himself a faint smile. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Night fell over the valley, cloaking the jagged terrain in shadows. The Dominion soldiers, once bold and self-assured, now huddled in their makeshift defensive perimeter, their advanced energy weapons trained on the surrounding darkness. Every shadow seemed alive, every rustle a harbinger of death. The sniper had turned their technological superiority into a liability, forcing them into a siege against an enemy they couldn't see. Sergeant Kethrin paced among the troops, his mandibles twitching in frustration. "We're not dealing with an army," he growled into his calms. "This is one human. One! And we're letting him humiliate the Dominion." A junior officer, trembling as he spoke, replied, "He's no ordinary soldier. He's something else. A predator." Kethrin snarled, shoving the officer aside. "Enough of this cowardice. We have numbers and firepower. We will root him out, or we will die trying." From his concealed vantage point, Marcus Kane observed the scene through his scope. The aliens were unraveling. Their movements were erratic, their cohesion shattered. He had done more than thin their ranks. He had broken their spirits. Yet, Marcus knew the danger wasn't over. Desperate soldiers could be unpredictable, and he couldn't afford mistakes. He adjusted his rifle, the faint starlight glinting off its barrel. His next target was Kethrin himself. The sergeant's barking orders had kept the remnants of the alien forces from total collapse. Marcus lined up his shot, taking into account the shifting wind. The crack of his rifle split the night. Kethrin dropped without a sound, his command abruptly silenced. Panic erupted in the alien ranks as soldiers scrambled for cover, their carefully maintained perimeter disintegrating. "Stay together," one of them shouted, his voice laced with desperation. "He's picking us off." But there was no staying together. Fear drove them to scatter, each soldier seeking refuge in the rocks and shadows. Marcus used their panic against them, methodically eliminating stragglers as they fled. The aliens' advanced equipment, designed for coordinated assaults, proved useless in the chaos. From his position, Marcus activated a small transmitter embedded in his wrist. A faint signal pulsed outward. Human reinforcements were on their way. His job was nearly done, but he wasn't finished yet. He needed to ensure that no alien soldier would leave the valley to report back to the Dominion. In the hours that followed, Marcus stalked his prey with the patience of a hunter and the precision of a master marksman. He moved like a shadow, undetected and unrelenting. Every shot was calculated, every kill a reminder of humanity's resolve. The once mighty soldiers of the Dominion, who had mocked Earth's weapons and tactics, were now nothing more than frightened fugitives. By dawn, the valley was silent. The alien forces had been utterly dismantled. Marcus stood atop the ridgeline, surveying the battlefield. The once pristine armor of the Dominion soldiers now lay scattered among the rocks, tarnished and broken. The air was heavy with the scent of burnt ozone and dust, a testament to the sniper's relentless campaign. As the first rays of sunlight pierced the horizon, the faint roar of engines grew louder. Marcus turned to see human dropships descending from the sky, their dark silhouettes cutting through the morning haze. Reinforcements had arrived, but they wouldn't find much left to fight. A voice crackled through his comms. "Lieutenant Kane, this is Captain Alvarez. We've got your signal. What's the status?" Marcus lowered his rifle and exhaled deeply. "Enemy neutralized. Valley secure." There was a pause on the other end, then a note of admiration in Alvarez's tone. "One man against a whole battalion? You've outdone yourself, Kane." Marcus allowed himself a faint smile. "Just doing my part." As the dropships landed and human troops began securing the area, Marcus slung his rifle over his shoulder and started down the ridgeline. He moved with the quiet confidence of a man who had seen victory, but carried the weight of the cost. The Dominion had come to Callisto Ridge, expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they had found a lone sniper who turned their arrogance into their undoing. Humanity's weapons might have seemed primitive, but in the hands of someone like Marcus Kane, they were anything but. This wasn't just a victory for Earth. It was a warning. The galaxy would remember Callisto Ridge as a place where the hunters became the hunted, and humanity proved that its spirit, its ingenuity, and its unyielding will to survive were the most powerful weapons of all.